We are part, as the European Union, of the world G3 in economic terms. We are the first trade partner and the first foreign investor in all parts of the world, none excluded. We are the main humanitarian donor worldwide, and actually the European Union alone invests more than the rest of the world combined. We have a world-class diplomatic network. Some of them are here in the room accompanying me. We are increasingly active as a global security provider, and we see that this is very much needed in the world of today. This doesn't mean that our European Union is perfect, far from that, but it means that our potential is much bigger than what we realize inside the Union. And no one of our member states, and actually I believe no one of the countries in the world, probably including this one, not even the strongest, the biggest, has the same potential alone than the European Union united. It's a matter of size, it's a matter of history, it's a matter of politics, it's a matter of projection. But it's also true that if you don't realize what your strength is, you don't use it. So the great challenge for us, and the only way to address also our citizens' needs, is making full use of this potential. And when we agreed on the objectives of our external actions, we then looked into the tools we have at our disposals, what we have and what we should have, what works and what could work better, and in certain cases much better. So we started before the Brexit referendum was even scheduled. But our work became even more relevant after the referendum in the UK. Our best response, that was one of the responsibilities I took, that was to go on with the release of the strategy. And that was actually happening a couple of days after the result of the referendum. Many were advising me not to go there exactly in that moment. But I thought that our best response to their vote was and is to make our union deliver on our citizens' need and to make it clear what is the next phase, what is the next stage. The best response we can have is to bring the European Union to the next level. Because the founding fathers and mothers, there were a few, but there were still some around, of our European Union believed that the united Europe had to be built on two pillars: the European Economic Community and a defense community. It was an ambitious idea, maybe too ambitious and visionary for that time, and the European defense community never saw the light. But our founding fathers and mothers knew that a true union couldn't simply rely on the integration of the markets. And we see it today. So, some of you might say, but that was in the 50s, in the middle of the Cold War. True, the world has changed, but let me tell you that a Europe of defense is probably much more needed and urgent in the world of today than back then. Because in a multipolar world like ours, and in a messy, if you allow me the terminology that is not properly academic, but it's clear, in a messy world like ours, peace can only be the result of a collective effort. And it's time for Europe to do its part at full. So a stronger European Union is not alternative to NATO, but on the contrary, a strong European Union can and will make NATO stronger. And at the same time, the entire world, the rest of the world, that has not connections with NATO, is asking for Europe, day by day, to be a global security provider more and more. Our military and civilian missions, and we have 17 of them right now, are already now supporting peace and stability in several parts of the world, especially in Africa. And many of our partners in Africa, in Asia, and in our region are asking for a greater European engagement to build capabilities, to train security forces, to accompany reconciliation processes, to do it the European way. And none of our member states has the force, the strength, nor the resources to address these requests alone. And I see that there is a growing consensus among our member states in Europe on the need for a Europe of defense. Let me just mention one figure. In Europe, we currently invest 50% of the US budget for defense. Yet, what we achieve is 15% of the output. A more integrated European defense industry is the only way to close this gap, not just the gap in investments, but first and foremost, the gap in output, which is what counts. Every now and then, I get asked whether Europe shouldn't focus on its soft power, rather, or only. And I come from the left. My political background is that one. It comes natural for me to focus first and foremost on the soft power of Europe. But being an exclusively civilian power today is not enough. It doesn't work. It wouldn't be possible. Why? I know you have a class here on the history of soft power, so I will be very careful on what I say. But I believe that in today's world, soft power and hard power can only go hand in hand. And we see it in the reality on the ground.